Hello and welcome to this Christmas season and to our Data Foundation product update. I'm Chris Bloom, I'm your host today, and I'm one of the product managers here in Red Hat and IBM, and I'm responsible for Data Foundation, DR, and backup. And with me today is Aran Tamir. Aran is also a product manager for ODF, and he's leading that effort and is the source of truth. Aran, do you want to start and tell us a little bit about what we did this year and what the outlook of Data Foundation is like?
Virtualization in terms of capabilities that we have with snapshots, for example, with disaster recovery. And it's just the beginning of a journey, from my opinion, from my point of view. And that's something that will keep evolving because the entire ecosystem is evolving, and that's the way that we are looking at it.
Thanks, Ran. So I just saw in the chat our first interaction. So there apparently was a sound issue. Sorry for that. Should work now. And you can hear Ran's lovely voice. Just in case that wasn't transmitted, I'm Chris Plum. I'm a product manager for Data Foundation. I'm focused on DR and backup, and Ran is our lead product manager responsible for ODF and the whole Data Foundation portfolio that we have in Red Hat and IBM. Ren, do you have some kind of slide maybe showing us the different releases that we had this year? I know we've had a couple, and maybe the viewers are interested in what cool features we added this year.
Um, so yes, I actually can share and can share a slide. Um, I have a problem to share a slide, but I can talk to it, no worries. So in 4.16 that we released earlier this year, we had several key points that we added to the product. So the first one is, as mentioned before, the security gaps that we had. So we started to add the automatic key rotation for our security layers. So we have just a reminder, we have cluster-wide encryption and we have PIV encryption, and we added multiple KMS systems. The last one was Azure Key Vault support to make sure that we can support all customers' needs from security point of view. Another thing that we added in 4.6 was tech preview for ROSA HCP. It's a self-managed OpenShift data foundation. in 4.17, once it's available in Rosa, we want to GA that. And that's important for us to make sure that customers that are interested in OpenShift Data Foundation and running on Rosa, which is a managed service, can actually utilize OpenShift Data Foundation features.
Maybe just for some of our viewers, ROSA means Red Hat OpenShift on AWS. So that's the managed OpenShift offering that Red Hat offers.
Thank you. And in object storage, this is something that may be worth adding two more sentences. In general, we acknowledge that object storage is a very growing market. Also with OpenShift, we already see internal services like Quay, like Loki, that are using that, and we see a lot of customers that are starting to get AI into their infrastructure, in the organization infrastructure, and they need object storage for that. This is the main service that they are looking for. So we are adding more and more features for object storage, also for disaster recovery for object storage, but also bucket notification that we are going to add in 4.18, and the object browser that we are going to add in 4.18, mainly to make sure that we provide everything that anyone in the chain that is working on AI can work easily with OpenShift and OpenShift Data Foundation. So these were the main items that we had in 4.16. In 4.17, we started the support for vSphere 8. We added Replica 2 for the file service. We had Replica 2 for the block service, and we added this for the CFFS. We kept working on key rotation, so that in 4.17 we added it to PV encryption. 4.16 was for a cluster-wide encryption. And we started to add multiple items under supportability to make sure that customers can handle, even in a better way, anything that is coming in the monitoring, in the alerts. So starting from a new CLI that we started to introduce in this release, and additional alerts that we improved and made sure that they're all actionable, and so on. I will pause here, and I think that you may want to, Chris may want to talk a bit about the disaster recovery features that we had this year, because I think that they're all very important steps that we did in that journey.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. That's a great overview. Maybe I just want to quickly go over to the roadmap.
By the way, if there are questions that you want to take, I don't know. I don't have a view for that, but
so I'm just sharing. Let me share that with Ron as well, so he sees what you're seeing. The ODF Data Foundation roadmap. As you know, this is basically what Ron just already said. But it's obviously, as always, it's a roadmap. It can change at the last minute. Unless we have released that version already, then it's very unlikely to change. And these are all the good things that we basically did this year. Now for ODF, I actually have a presentation prepared for you. And if you haven't heard about me in the aspect of disaster recovery, then that's not surprising, because I actually just took over for this yeah, not so long ago. So just crop this away. Okay. So I did take that over not too long ago, and I made this presentation when I discovered that there's a lot of terminology and a lot of complexity when it comes to disaster recovery, and I wanted to more align people so that we're all speaking the same language and there are no miscommunications when we talk about such an important topic as disaster recovery. So first, I wanted to set the stage of what is disaster recovery for us here with Data Foundation. So for us, disaster recovery has two different topics. First one is backup for this long-term offline um, storage of your data. And the other one is business continuity. So business continuity is everything that we do that allows us to survive any failure that happens to your infrastructure and just keep on running, keep on doing whatever your business is doing. If you're a marketplace, an online marketplace, you want to keep selling your stuff. If you have a warehouse, you want to keep the inventory up so that you can move your things in and out and so forth. So this is what business continuity means. Now, there's mostly two questions that we need to answer to find the right solution for DR for you. So first one is, how many sites do you have? Do you want to split that up to 2 sites or 3 sites? And sites can mean anything. That can be different rooms in your data center, can be different buildings on your campus, but can also be different campi or different regions where you're operating. It can be US East Coast and West Coast. That's often something customers really want to do. And then the next question is, what's your RPO? So RPO basically means on failure. When one of your sites goes down, how much data are you able to lose in this hopefully very unlikely case that your site goes down, you need to switch over to your other site. So basically we split that up into, are you able to lose some data, like the last, let's say 5 minutes? Or is that really business critical applications where you can never lose any data? So sometimes we have trading platforms, and once something is committed, sale is in, obviously you cannot lose the last 5 minutes of sales. These are sold to people. You need to understand who that was sold to, and then these people would be saying, "Oh, we need RPO equals 0, no data loss." In most other cases, we're able to lose some data, and that is really good because that means we're okay with lower expectations on the infrastructure. We can do that over high distances, so just like the example I did before, US East and West Coast. And then we have this downside of some data loss possible during failover. But this is really good if you want to have this very far apart data that's very secure. I also put that little note down here just because it's uh, very obvious for us product managers, because that has always been there. But ODF automatically, especially if you're deploying in the cloud, it automatically distributes data of up to 3 availability zones. So when you're deploying on AWS, for example, it sees you're in a region, the region has multiple availability zones. It will forward that information to the storage, and then your data will automatically be in different availability zones. So that is already a really good protection for your data. But let's look into this later in more detail. So with those two questions answered, we're basically looking at a chart like this. So here we have our first question answered, 2 sides, 3 sides, and here we have the second question answered, RPO in seconds, minutes, or hours. Obviously, it gets cheaper the further you move down, but then the question is, how expensive is it for your business to lose data? If you can do RPO in hours, we've seen some businesses that are happy with doing that, then maybe backup is your answer. So you just do a daily backup. If something goes wrong, you just play your backup back in. If we're talking about minutes, we would be using something like regional DR. We have architectures that can work in 2 sites or 3 sites. And then we have RPO in seconds. That means we would be doing synchronous replication between multiple sites. That means they need to be very close together, and the link needs to be very fast, low latency. So we do a latency of 10 milliseconds round trip. And with that, you can do this. So when we only have 2 sites, what we're currently recommending is you just put the arbiter, the third site, up in the cloud. A lot of people are okay with that. So you would just go to your favorite cloud provider. You would say, I'm going to spin up that one VM in a region close to me. That means up to 100 milliseconds round trip latency. And then that node has no data. It just has the network connectivity to the cluster, and it can see both sides. And that's basically the tipping point that will decide which side wins in case of a failure. And if we have 3 sides, obviously we can do the arbiter in your own infrastructure, and that is a little bit easier to set up. You don't need to provision anything in a cloud provider, and it just all works fine. Good. Now, with this, I wanted to preview a look at the different architectures. So this is the default deployment of ODF in the cloud. We have 3 different availability zones, and we just replicate data over them. If one AC fails, you don't even notice. And we've heard that from multiple customers that have retrospectively noticed that one AC in, let's say, AWS, it failed, and they didn't even notice because OpenShift just rescheduled their pods, all their applications were multi-deployed, and also their storage was in multiple availability zones, so no data loss. Once the AC came back online, ODF was just managing all that without any interaction, self-healing. Then we have stretch cluster DR, means one big cluster, and we also have the storage inside of the cluster, and we have an external arbiter node that can, as I said, deploy it in the public cloud or wherever you have space for it. It doesn't need to have data. When one cluster fails, it's just one half of the cluster. Everything will automatically spin up there. No external dependency needed. If you want to split those clusters so that when one cluster is misconfigured, it doesn't affect the other side, we can also do that. We call it as Metro DR. So we externalize the storage, and then we can connect multiple OpenShift clusters to it, and the storage cluster would be spanned over your different sites. Now, this all requires network latencies of up to 10 milliseconds round trip time. If you cannot have that, what we would do is regional DR. That means we have 2 regions, 2 OpenShift clusters, storage is internal, and we have an asynchronous replication from one side to the other. And we can then decide which side is active, and we can fail over to the other side if there's any issues. And then theoretically with ODF, we can also do a multi-tier protection. So that means bundling together multiple of these technologies. For example, here we have the HA deployment over multiple availability zones. And then we do also regional DR. And then we also do backup and restore. And then you're super safe and all your data is protected on multiple levels. And now, to not consume too much time, I wanted to briefly show you our roadmap of what we have done and what we've planned. So here you see we started with DR work back in 4.15. We did the ACM Hub co-location. 416 discovered apps, that is the stuff where we look at what's running on your OpenShift cluster and we try to make that fit for DR. And we now have multiple initiatives. So I won't go into all the details, but we are continuing with the cool work, but we also want to improve the user experience of the whole DR experience, make it more intuitive, easier to understand, easier to set up. We also want to support more new platforms that the ODF people are now working on. We want to support the IBM Cloud Paks in a more deeper and more native level for DR. And last but not least, we want to do a lot more for OpenShift VMs. So right now we're focusing on doing this multi-volume backup in DR. And the cool thing about this is very close to this. And once we achieve that, we can do snapshots, atomic snapshots, not just of one VM and all this, but we can do atomic snapshots over multiple VMs. So think about having your Elasticsearch or your Kafka or whatever distributed application that is deployed over multiple VMs, or even a combination of VMs and containers. You can take multiple snapshots atomically. So when you recover these, or you do disaster recovery, the application comes back just the way it was on the previous cluster, because all the snapshots have basically been done at the very same time. And that is something that I'm quite proud of once we can finally release that. Okay, with that, I would say I'll switch over back to Iran. Maybe you have a little bit more.
I always have more, but instead of pitching, I would love to see if there are any questions coming from the audience. Do we see anything?
Right now, there's nothing. The sound issue is resolved. The audience is happy with us.
Good. Good. So just looking into the future, you covered well the disaster recovery and all aspects of that. But I would like to mention again that we would love to hear from customers. We would love to have direct interaction and help the various teams with anything that we can, other than supporting the business. See if we can help with questions, queries, RFPs, RFIs, and so on. And more than that, and I'm saying it in any form, we can add features and based on our gut feeling, based on the market um, analysis that we have, based on consulting companies and so on. But I think that the most effective features and the most value that we bring to the product is based on feedback that we get directly from our customers, from our account teams, from our consultancy teams, and we are always happy to learn more, listen to the feedback that they have, if it's on user experience and what we can improve on that, if it's missing capabilities, if it's new projects that customers have and may indicate a trend in the market that we better align with. I think that if I need to look at 2023, I think that something like 80% of what we did was based on feedback like that. And 20% was the way that we look at the market, the way that we imagine the market, trying to be at the edge, trying to be there a step before everybody else to make sure that our customers will have what they need when they keep on in their journey. So that's one thing that I wanted to share. Um, Soon we will have a public project where it will be even easier to reach out to us and ask for our fees. We will share it in the various mailing lists and Slack channels to make sure that you have the visibility. And the last thing that I wanted to mention is that we moved from, and that's for the internal audience, we moved from Bugzilla to Jira. It's also a public project, so even external audience are relevant here. You can access to DF Bugs project in Jira, in Reddit Jira, and you can open directly bugs to us, and we will look at them, we will triage them, and we will fix them, of course. Um, it helps with the visibility, it helps with the transparency because Jira has much more tools, or I would say modern tools to get more visibility of what we are currently doing. So I think that these are the most important things that I want to mention and raise here.
Thank you, Ran. That's a really good point. And I'm excited for all the hundreds of people reaching out to us. And just be prepared for any announcement, any emails that we send around about the RFE process. That's probably the most efficient way to reach us, and then also get updates on when we actually implement this. And yes, thanks for tuning in, and see you around.
Thank you. Thank you.